Fireworks erupted live on GB News as host Martin Daubney unleashed a scathing attack on Labour's migration crisis, backed by explosive new data revealing 87% of Channel crossers are fighting-age males. Political heavyweights clashed as Daubney systematically dismantled Treasury Minister Darren Jones's ridiculous claims about women and children, whilst Baroness Hayter desperately defended the government's failing border policies. The heated confrontation escalated dramatically when Daubney cornered his guests over Prime Minister Keir Starmer's glaring absence from Britain's immigration emergency. Then came the hammer blow that left everyone speechless. The devastating revelation that Starmer jets off worldwide whilst ignoring the crisis just 22 miles away in Calais. Watch the clip. But before that, did you know that over 95% of our viewers aren't subscribed? We get it. Life's busy, but subscribing is free and helps us keep making the content you love. Hit that button. It takes a second and means the world to us. Thank you for your support.
And now, GB News can exclusively reveal today that the majority of those, the huge majority, in fact, of those crossing the Channel are men of fighting age. Well, a bombshell new report seen exclusively today by GB News for Stand Up for Our Sovereignty and Facts for EU has found that out of 38,000 illegal small boat migrant arrivals recorded up until March, an astonishing 87% of them were male. Now, this is despite this bold claim from Treasury Minister Darren Jones earlier this year.
And when you see that the majority of the people in these boats are children, babies and women who have been...
No, they're not. No, they're not.
No, you have got to take... No, look, I get this is...
North of 90% of them are adult men.
Let me be... No.
Meanwhile, back in the real world, seriously, has this latest report revealed the true extent of Labour's delusion when it comes to the crisis in the Channel? Well, joining me now to discuss this report is the Director of Communications at the Campaign for Independent Britain, Ben Phillips. And I'm also joined for analysis in the studio by GB News' Home and Security Editor, Mark White. And, of course, GB News' Political Editor, Chris Hope. Gentlemen, welcome all. Ben, I'm going to start with you. An incredible set of data which completely torpedoes the notion that this is women and children. You've got a bunch of graphics to go through with us. Let's start at the top. Over to you.
Absolutely. Well, we've divided this data up, Martin, in terms of gender, age and geography. So the first one that we're going to look at is the breakdown between men and women. And look at that. It's absolutely astonishing. 87% of all males on the illegal boats are 87% of the migrants coming over are male, just 13% female.
So straight away, Darren Jones has been proven to be living in Fantasyland.
Absolutely.
What's the next chart you've got?
So the next chart, that breaks down the age component of those male asylum seekers. And you'll see that the fighting age males, 18 to 39, over 25,000, nearly 26,000 of them aged 18 to 39, a mere 5,900, either boys, men over the age of 39 or old men.
So it's 81.4% are men of fighting age. And by the way, how many of those under 18s are actually not under 18? I guess we'll never know. But certainly a lot of these young lads seem to have full beards and they're about 6 foot tall. Yep. So that's the second one. It's 81.4% those of fighting age, aged 18 to 34. Again, torpedoing the illusion that these boats are crammed full of women, children and babies. What's your next chart?
So the next one that we've got is about the geographical breakdown, and this is the three countries where you're almost certainly likely to get to be granted asylum. And look at that, Syria, Sudan and Yemen, hardly the most salubrious places to come from. 99% of all of those coming from Syria, a war-torn country, are likely to be granted asylum. 98% from Sudan and similarly 98% from Yemen.
So ostensibly, let's be brutal about this. We have open borders with Syria, Sudan and Yemen. If you get to these shores, you have an absolutely infinitesimally small chance of ever being returned because, of course, they're deemed unsafe countries. Never mind the fact that we may be importing some pretty unsafe men.
Yeah.
We're stuck with them the moment they land on British shores. That's what this says.
It is, and the consequences, Martin, are disastrous economically. These are not brain surgeons or architects or engineers. So from an economic point of view, it's a disaster. Domestically, of course, it's extremely dangerous as well. We've got segregated communities and rising domestic crime, and also from a geopolitical point of view as well, in terms of national security.
And I think you've got one final chart which shows us the nationalities most likely to be on these boats. I wonder if we have that one. It's the bar chart.
There we are, yes. 20 nationalities of 82 of those who are coming into this country, and it is a similarly depressing list of countries, if I may say so. Leading the pack is Afghanistan, 5,766 from there, Syria, Eritrea, Iran, Sudan, Vietnam, all the way down to occupied Palestine.
OK, Ben Phillips, thank you very much. Mark White, let's bring you in now. To be fair, in defence of Darren Jones, he later claimed he wasn't referring to all the boats at all. That's what he said, right?
He may be saying that, but it was a ridiculous statement to make if that was actually his view, that he had seen one particular boat where the majority of people were women and children, to then be challenged on it, as he was by Zia Yusuf, and to double down on that, only later to acknowledge that he had misspoken. But it's interesting because drilling down into the figures, what it shows actually in terms of the male population of those crossing by small boats is it's actually got more significant since this crisis began, from what it was in 2018 to what it is now. It was in the high 70s to begin with in those early years. It's now actually, as we've seen, the latest data set, up to 87% are male. And of course, that's just to March this year. So we don't know exactly what the data set after that will show. It's interesting as well, I think, to drill down on the nations. And we know, of course, that if you are from countries like Syria or Sudan, you're likely, very likely, to be granted asylum. But even if you're not granted asylum, if you're from a myriad of other countries, you're still staying in the UK, because what you're then given is indefinite leave to remain, because it's deemed too unsafe to return you. There's no way that a court would ever allow you to be returned to that particular country. But of course, looking again at some of the nations represented, Vietnam. Where's the war in Vietnam? There wasn't one the last time I was lying on the beach down in Vietnam having a lovely old time. India as well. You know, many other countries where there is not an issue in terms of there being an immediate threat to life. But of course, these people may well argue there's something unsafe, inherently unsafe about their life back there, which will ensure that they too get leave to remain in the UK.
Chris Hope, let's bring in you now. This is just a political nightmare for the Labour government, and I hate to add the previous government, but this is the latest set of data. They can't keep trying to pull the wool over the eyes of the British public anymore about this. The facts are the facts, and the facts go against their narrative. And by the way, where's the Prime Minister? Where is Keir Starmer? Don't you think we've got a pretty big emergency going on now with what's going on outside hotels, what's going on in terms of criminality, and the mega thingy that Mark White reported on yesterday, to me, was just an absolute aberration. It's terrifying.
They're doing limited changes. I mean, even just yesterday, they did say they would publish, or would look at publishing. Dame Diana Johnson told GB News, of course, the Home Office Minister, they will look at publishing the immigration status of people who are charged with crime at the charging point, not before that. We challenged number 10 on Monday. Has Sir Keir Starmer been down to Epping, been to the families living next door to the Bell Hotel? That's what, to be fair to Kemi Badenoch, she was there. But it is frustrating, I think, that the Tories haven't really got the political space for doing any change here. We saw over the past couple of days, Chris Philp, the Shadow Home Secretary, he's been in northern France. Robert Jenrick, the Shadow Justice Secretary, he's been there too. You're rolling your eyes, Martin, if you listen to the radio.
I just don't think we should treat these people seriously. I'm really, really sorry when I say that. Like, I've met them both. They've been in here. You know, they're obviously very competent parliamentarians, but they had their chance to close the borders, and now they're faffing around making TikTok videos.
I completely agree with you. Not once during their tenure in office did either man go anywhere near the migrant crisis in France. Not just that, but they are now criticising the French police for doing nothing to actually impact the trade in criminality across the English Channel. They, not the Labour government, but they, during their time in office, were the ones that gave the French more than £500 million.
So I want to
never once criticised them for the efforts they were making in the Channel.
I would ask why that happens. Is it that when they're ministers, they haven't got time? Is it that when they're ministers, officials don't want them to do that? Because it would radicalise a minister doing that. Well, I remember vividly when Lee Anderson, when he was a Tory MP on the Home Affairs Committee, he went to the beaches, didn't he, and made films there, and our eyes, the scales fell from our eyes, really, and he was appalled by it. I think that when you've got time in opposition, you can do it. What it needs is, though, these MPs, when they become ministers, and it could be Reform next time, or the Tories again, they want to be energetic about getting to the heart of the problem and not put up with what being told by officials.
How many times have we seen our Prime Minister jetting off around the world to glad hand with politicians in other nations?
He needs to do both.
Why can't they make time to go across just the other side of the Channel? 22 miles, Chris, that's all it is.